Go.
Good evening, my name is Ryan Muller, and today I would like to tell you about Glaston's own hero, Sergeant Ralph Harley Adams. Sergeant Ralph Harley Adams was born in Glaston, Queensland in 1892 and went on to study at Nudgee College in Brisbane. At the age of 22, he enlisted as a private in the 8th Battalion and departed from Australia on the HMAT Mordilla on 15th of June 1915, leaving behind his family and siblings, not knowing he would ever see them again, as he was killed in action on 4th of October in 1917. This is a map of Belgium showing where Ralph was during the war, and this blue dot here is where he died. Like many of the fighting soldiers in World War I, Ralph would have spent many hours engaged in trench warfare. All the trenches would be long and narrow and not fun to live in. As you can see in this photo here, you can see many of the soldiers who are drenched in mud and very tired and not enjoying it. In these trenches, they had things to do. For example, at 7 AM, they would have breakfast. At 8 AM, they would clean out their guns and their shells. They did not have yummy big feasts, but instead they would have soup with lumps of horse meat. Amongst all these things, they were quite uncomfortable, as the trenches did not smell pretty, and the toilets would often overflow with human poo. The living conditions as well were not fun. It would cause soldiers to get medical problems like trench foot. The soldiers had very little time to rest. In winter, the trenches would often freeze. While Ralph was away at war, his family, like many families in Australia, would also have been experiencing difficulties. The women would have to replace the men's jobs, and it would put a lot of pressure on older children in the family. In this photo, you can see that the women in the World War I were taking over many of the men's jobs, as the men were in war. They had to take care of the household duties. During the war, women were recruited into jobs that the men who went to war worked at. Some other women joined in the front lines as nurses to help get the soldiers back onto their feet. There was a significant impact on Australian society, as over 60,000 young men were killed. Australia's population was less than 5 million. The war divided the country. For example, working class felt they sacrificed more than the upper class Australians. Another impact the war had on Australian society was the economy. The cost of the war was extremely high and led to the introduction of income tax, and Australia took over 20 years to pay back the wartime fees. A positive impact on Australian society was that Australia developed new industries to replace products they could not import during the war. The events of World War I, partially the Gallipoli campaign, have given rise to the Anzac legend. The legend of Anzac was born on the 25th of April, 1915. And was reinformed in 8 months fighting at Gallipoli. Although there was no military victory, the Australians displayed great courage, endurance, initiative, discipline, and mateship. Some qualities came to be seen as the Anzac spirit. Some historians, such as Mark McKenna, claim the Anzac character traits are in fact universal. If I were to give scripture verses or anything like that to comfort any of the soldiers in World War I, these would be it. Psalm 56, 3-4. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you, in God whose words I praise. In God I trust and am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? The second one I'd like to talk to them about would be John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Thirdly is Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Psalm 29:11. The Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Thank you.